Hello and welcome back to Conversation with Commissioners. It's been a while and it's great to be back again. Conversations with the commissioners cover everything from discussions with department heads to current events and to items and subjects and projects and events that the county commissioners are working on or working with. And before we go any further, though, I really want to introduce our new executive secretary, Kelsey Bailey. Kelsey, welcome aboard.
Oh, thank you.
Kelsey's from Stanfield and has been on board now for almost 4 months. Has it been that long?
2.5.
2.5. She's done 4.5 months worth of work in two months. So welcome aboard, Kelsey. And I'm going to turn it back over to you and let you go ahead and grill me, and we'll go from there.
Well, thank you, Dan. It's been fun. I've learned a lot, so glad to be here. So number one on the item list today, it's been about 10 days since the Joint Legislative Task Force on Transportation visited Umatilla County. How do you think it went, and what have you heard or discussed as follow-up?
You know, that's a great question. It was well covered by the media. What the Joint Legislative Task Force on Transportation is, it's a group of legislators that formed a task force chaired by Rep. McLean and Senator Boquist, are co-chaired, and their job was to travel the state. They still have 3 stops left, but to travel the state, listen to stakeholders. The stakeholder groups have basically been folks like elected officials, city managers, law enforcement, fire departments, all of those type of people that are involved, public works departments especially, but all of those people that are involved with transportation on an everyday basis. How do I think the events went? They were incredible here in Umatilla County, and I've heard they've been good throughout the state. We took a tour, about a 3-hour tour on a bus that included the legislators. It also included ODOT. Director Chris Strickler was here. The region folks, Kim Patterson and Rich Lanny, were both on the bus. And we were able to, and Mark Morgan from the city of Hermiston. So what we did was we toured basically starting from EOTech, starting out on Highway 395, took a trip through all of the new industrial area in which Hermiston has developed that property, and Mark Morgan spent some time discussing how those projects came together, how they were funded. And from there, we were on 395 down to Feedville Road. On Feedville Road, we headed out towards North Loop Road, so out past the edge of Stanfield. And what we did was we were able to talk about how the different entities, the agencies, so ODOT, Umatilla County, both have really partnered well together on a lot of different projects. And during that trip, we were also able to point out that just off of Feedville, in the Stanfield urban growth boundary, there's a new SIA transportation, new transport or transloading facility, very similar to the FedEx and UPS facilities out by I-82 that's coming into the Stanfield area. The west end of Umatilla County and even the east end has become a very dense freight and commercial transportation hub. The number of commercial vehicles at the I-82, I-84 interchange is the same as anywhere on I-5 from Bellingham to San Diego each day. So that's just to put that in perspective, how much commercial freight there is, Kelsey. It's overwhelming. So from there, we took in a lot of the discussion of county roads, how county roads are funded, what types of road the county has. I mean, I'm sure a lot of folks have heard that the county has over 1,700 miles of county roads, 280 bridges, and 3,800 miles of private roads. Now, the cities and the state, put it in perspective, the state has 900 lane miles. The cities have, I believe it's around 700 miles. But each one of those agencies has a different view, a different outcome on each road. A interstate freeway system is different than the roads downtown Stanfield or downtown Hermiston or downtown Pendleton that have curb and gutter, that have intersections and crosswalks. County roads, the majority of county roads are gravel. We have about 200 miles of paved road or hardscaped road. The remainder is gravel roads. We try to increase those numbers each year, but they're very important. So we had those discussions on the tour bus. And then we started looking at some of the natural hazards. So we got to Echo and looked at the Echo Bridge crossing that crosses the Umatilla River and the damage that the 2019 and 2020 floods caused there. And it was really eye-opening to a lot of the legislators that haven't been on this side of the state or have just driven through and not haven't had the opportunity to witness what goes on beyond what they see from I-84. So that portion was really good. Then we made our way back to EOTech, where we had the stakeholder meetings and discussed everything from funding to how funds are divided and what people were looking for funding options. And just a lot of those kind of discussions. The evening, there was public testimony. We heard a lot on transit. So the transit, when you hear transit, that basically is taxis, busing. In Umatilla County, most of the busing is done by Kayak. City of Pendleton has their own bus, some of their own buses. But that transit and the ridership and how that's funded also comes from ODOT, along with aspects such as DMV, part of aviation. ODOT is a big globe. But anyway, not to drag that on, I think the answer to your question is it was a great success. We've had nothing but good feedback from all levels of the government. And actually, it was just really overall good, but what made it great was the ability to have folks visit us that don't get to see some of the interior of Umatilla County. And just as a side note, what I pointed out to them was Umatilla County is 3,200 square miles. So the loop that we took would take up 75% of Multnomah County. In our case, it was less than 40. What I can't remember the exact, but about 1/32 of all of Umatilla County. So it was eye-opening when you put the two maps together. Anyway, thank you, Kelsey. That was a great question.
Very good, very good. Well, during the stakeholder roundtable, there was a lot of discussion about the 50-30-20 formula. What is this formula, and what does it mean?
Yeah, and we didn't spend enough time probably explaining that, and that's a great question, Kelsey, because what that means is that the gas tax that Oregonians pay, the 38 cents, is actually divided on a formulated basis. 50% goes to ODOT for their road maintenance, and including some construction and capital projects, and 30% goes to the county. So there's this big misconception that your property taxes pay for roads. Not the case at all. In fact, in the state of Oregon, property taxes cannot be used to pay for roads. So it is a issue, especially at the local levels. But the counties divide up 30%. Now, there are some nuances to that. Some of the very, very small frontier counties get a little bit larger share than 30%. But in general, it's a 50-30, and then the 20% goes to the cities. It's a formula, a hard-fought formula by the League of Oregon Cities and the Association of Oregon Counties in 2017 to come up with that formula. It's worked very well. And as we heard at the stakeholders meeting, at the public hearings, and even on the bus itself, that is one formula that nobody wants to see go away. Now there is a lot of discussion that it may have to go away, and it. I just think it would be debilitating to counties and even the state if we start dividing this pie into more and more slices, and putting different formulas in place that don't recognize the success of the 50-30-20. So it's a formula that I think more people will hear during the 2025 session, this long 2-year this long session, and as those discussions go on, I think that more people will become familiar with the 50-30-20 and transportation issues in themselves. People don't understand how critical transportation is to commerce, to safety. How does if we shut down a bridge, how does a fire truck have to take 45 minutes to go around a shut down bridge and still be able to fight a fire in a timely manner? Ambulances, same thing. If an ambulance has to slow down on a gravel road down to 10 miles an hour just because of the condition of the road, that's not helping anybody at all. And safety itself, stop signs, the cost of stop signs just to install them is skyrocketing. Part of the discussions overall, kind of the high-level discussions, was we heard that since 2017, the cost of construction and road maintenance has gone up over 300%. Just an incredible inflation index that's hard to understand unless you're a commissioner or a public works director that has to spend those dollars. Yeah. So it's a tough row to hoe. I think Umatilla County is extremely blessed with the quality of their public works department and our director, Tom Fellows, and the work that he's been able to do with a very limited budget. But we have no capital projects, none. And we scramble to keep bridges open by doing our own engineering and maintenance, and it's an everyday battle that Tom and his crew put up with, and it's hard to imagine what any type of significant reduction in revenue is going to look like. So that was a great question, and that 50-30-20, the more people hear that going down the road, it's going to be that much more educational, and people will be able to understand what the fight really is in Salem this next year.
Very good. Wow, that's some good information. Always learning here. So there were some comments from ODOT discussing declining highway fund revenues. What does that mean for Umatilla County?
Yeah, that means a lot. Again, going back to our gas tax formula in Oregon, we're also a state that is driving and has a very aggressive goal to reduce internal combustion engine use. But even without that, the higher efficiency cars, that graph that the highway taxes or gas taxes has been on has actually already leveled off and began that slow decline down. So gas tax are not generating an increased pot of highway fund dollars. With the higher efficiency cars, that whole graph is starting to turn, and that revenue is shrinking. So as that shrinks, how do you replace that revenue that was already not adequate for all the 50-30-20 planning? And so there's a lot of discussion on the different types of revenue generation. But going back to the declining revenue, the faster we go to higher efficient electric hydrogen vehicles, the faster that decline becomes, and the more critical that we get something in place to generate those funds, because the highway maintenance is not going down. And the one thing, no matter what we do in the future, however we define or find revenue sources, the one thing that they didn't do in 2017 is index that to inflation. And I think one of the things for sure that we're going to have to look at is inflation indexing funds going forward, or we're just not going to be sustainable no matter what type of program we put in place. Thanks, Kelsey. Revenue generation is a big discussion, and everyone's going to hear a lot about high efficiency vehicles and what effect that has on the funding that we do have.
Well, there were several ideas for new revenue for the highway fund. What are your thoughts?
Well, I've sat on for the last 3.5 years, sat on what's called the Rough Tough Committee, or the Road User Fee Task Force. It's a RUC, so a road user charge. That's basically a pay-by-mile fee, and I think it has a lot of merit. It really has a lot of merit if we take into consideration rural Oregon. Rural Oregon now right now pays an outsized portion of the highway tax fund. And a couple reasons for that. One is, in general, we drive vehicles that don't get efficiency or higher miles per gallon. And a lot of that's out of necessity for the type of work we do. Winter roads, four-wheel drive vehicles, farm and ranch, just the type of industries we have. We have vehicles, we drive in general vehicles that just don't get the miles per gallon that you could use if you were driving from your suburb into a high rise in Portland. Just not the same, whole different thing. And then on top of that, we drive more miles per day than any urban area. The statistics are out there. They're glaring. So if you combine those two, rural Oregon right now is already paying an outsized portion of the highway trust fund, just by the way that it's put together. So to put a road user fee on top of that, I think it has to be very nuanced. One is it has to have an opt-out. So if even my new Silverado pickup, which I don't have a new one, but if I had a new Silverado pickup, I would think I would rather pay a higher registration fee of $50 and not pay a road user fee, because I'm going to be driving a lot more miles, plus I'm going to still be spending a lot more on gas, so my gas tax bill's still going to be up there. I don't think it would be fair that I would be jeopardized twice over that. Most people, I'm not going to say most at this point, but a lot of people kind of understand those issues that we face in rural Oregon. We also don't have a bus that runs from Helix to Athena every day. We don't have a bus that runs from Upper Butter Creek to Echo every day. So we do have a great transit system, but again, it's very limited compared to other areas, especially dense populations. There's been a discussion of just a across the board increase in registration fees. There's been a discussion of, should we pay 50 cents to $1 for every package we get delivered by Amazon or UPS or FedEx? So a lot of people are being very innovative in the way that they're looking at this. Now, in reality, people, I think, overestimate what they pay in a year in gas tax, or what that means. So, in general, a gas tax would add in rural Oregon. Right now, we pay about $300 to $400 in a gas tax, and I don't think anybody objects to paying a gas tax for an efficient road system that's maintained. I think where some of the objection is sometimes we're not really at a lot of levels transparent with how we spend those dollars. So everybody can sit on the sidelines and make suggestions on how to be efficient and those type of things, and they're all legitimate. But I think that the understanding is that the pie of funding for that 50-30-20 split has got to get more efficient, but it also has to get bigger to be able to take care of what we already have. And I'm not talking about capital projects. I'm talking about what we took care of last year. It cost 17% more to take care of this year. We don't have that 17% more. We need to find an answer. We need to find it early. I don't think it's going to be easy. One of the statements I made early on was the rural-urban divide is a real issue when it comes to transportation and how we look at transportation and fund it. But I think that with this joint legislative task force and these tours, I think we were able to get some of those discussions addressed and kind of out of the way so that we can, I'm not going to say that it's going to be easy, but at least we'll be able to have those conversations once we get to Salem in this year and look at some of the alternatives that we do have. So there's a lot of options on revenue. We need to find some, and we need to be efficient with the dollars that we do have.
Definitely. So what does all this mean to Umatilla County?
Well, I think everybody needs to stay engaged. And it was nice to see that early in the tour, all the people that were involved at all levels. So the engagement is there for sure. Umatilla County showed up strong. I think that people need to understand that safety is a huge issue, especially on county and city roads, state roads too, but safety will always come first. But maintenance, preservation of the roads and of the transportation system that we have now is just critical. Bridges that have 30% reduction load limits reduce commerce. They make everything more expensive. If you have to drive an extra 45 miles an hour to get a load of potatoes from the field to Lamb West, and then if you could and cross a bridge that was fully load rated, it just saves everybody that much money. But the price of the commodity goes up, price of transportation goes up, price of a French fry goes up. So transportation affects everybody in a lot of different ways: commerce, commercial traffic, safety, and really even to some degrees life and death situations when you have traffic accidents and traffic issues at all levels, city, county, and state. So, Kelsey, thank you for today. It's great to have the Commissioner's Corner back on, and welcome aboard, and look forward to many more of these.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the invitation. It's been fun.
It has been fun. Great questions. And thank you to everybody for watching today. And we'll see you at the next podcast. Thank you.